Hey, boys and girls, we are going to learn about folktales today. Folktales are a particular kind of literature. There's a lot of different types of stories that fit under the category of folktales. So, we're going to talk about all those a little bit, and then I'm going to teach you specifically about one type. So, folktales can be fairy tales, they can be fables, they can be myths, and they can be legends. Oral tradition is just the way that stories were handed down through generations using word of mouth. Stories weren't necessarily always written down ages ago. They just told the stories to their kids, and then their kids grew up and told the story to their kids and their grandkids and their great grandkids. And now most of those stories have been told and retold many, many times and now written down into books with maybe some slight differences, but these are stories that we generally have heard. Most of these stories have an unknown author. Some of them we know who wrote them, but many times, like I said, it was just told orally, and we don't know who originally came up with the story. It's found in all different types of cultures, and we'll be looking at some different stories from around the world. Their Cinderella story can be found in many different cultures, and we'll look at some of those differences. These stories are usually timeless and placeless, and what that means is that they're going to start in a once upon a time type of way. Like these don't have like a setting that we really know where it is. It's not like it took place in New York City or it took place in some made up land. It didn't happen at Hogwarts. It's just there in a fairy tale land. There's good and bad characters, sometimes evil characters, but always going to be an obvious good character and an obvious bad character. These are stories we hear as kids. These are stories you've probably heard, many of them. Some of them are new, but the type of story isn't new. Here's some examples of different types of folk tales. Goldilocks and the Three Bears, it's a fairy tale. The Legend of Paul Bunyan, obviously it's a legend. Sleeping Beauty, another fairy tale. The Tortoise and the Hare is a fable. And Pandora's Box is a myth. Out of all of these, I think that probably myths will be the one that you have the least experience with, but we're going to be learning more about these as we go. We're going to talk specifically about fables today. We've read some fables already, so we're going to talk about the characteristics of a fable so that we can recognize them when we're reading them. Fables are usually going to be short stories that teach a lesson. The lesson is called a moral. It's something people should apply to their own lives. We talked a little bit about theme. It's similar, but it's not the same. But if you can finish the story and say, what did I learn from this? Then that's going to be the moral that you get from a fable. The characters are usually always animals that talk. Sometimes they don't talk, but usually they do. Aesop is the most well-known author. As I said previously, sometimes we won't know the author, but Aesop did write a lot of fables, and he is well known for that. An example of a fable is The Tortoise and the Hare. You probably know that story. Cheese. Okay, so we're going to read The Tortoise and the Hare. This is probably very familiar to you. Tortoise is a turtle, and hare is another name for a rabbit. The hare was once boasting or bragging of his speed before the other animals. I have never yet been beaten, said he. When I put forth my full speed, I challenge anyone here to race with me. The tortoise said quietly, I accept your challenge. That is a good joke, said the hare. I could dance round you all the way. Keep your boasting till you've beaten, answered the tortoise. Shall we race? So a course was fixed and a start was made. The hare darted almost out of sight at once, but soon stopped, and to show his contempt for the tortoise, lay down to have a nap. The tortoise plodded on and plodded on, or he dragged and kind of walked slowly. And when the hare awoke from his nap, he saw the tortoise just near the winning post and could not run up in time to save the race. Then the tortoise said, Slow and steady wins the race. All right, so this is an example of a fable. It's short, it has animals as the main characters. It doesn't have a particular setting. I mean, we can tell that it's outside, but it's not set in a particular place. And it's teaching us a lesson. So the rabbit was boasting or bragging, felt pretty good about himself, and didn't feel like there was any way a slow tortoise could possibly beat him. And it said here that he was going to show contempt for the tortoise. Well, he was just going to lay down and show how ridiculous it was that he was racing against a turtle. And so he was going to lay down and take a nap. But he felt so good about himself, and he felt that there was no way that he could be beaten, that he slept, and the tortoise just kept walking and walking. And then pretty soon when the hare woke up, he realized that the tortoise had passed him and he couldn't catch up in time. So we see that slow and steady wins the race. So maybe the lesson that we can learn from this is no matter what we're doing, we should just keep at it and keep trying, and we will eventually be successful. And then also, we could learn that if we're bragging and feeling that we're just wonderful and awesome, that maybe at some point in time, somebody might knock us down a peg or two, and we might end up realizing that maybe we're not the absolute best at everything in the whole world. So there's kind of two lessons you could learn from this, but this is an example of a fable. We're going to learn more about some other types of folk tales coming up, so stay tuned.